Okay, we are live on this momentous, critical, pivotal 144K mass meditation, which is more of a euphemism. It's more like mass intervention, as many of you veterans know. And it is the new moon in Pisces mass meditation of February 27th, 2025. Rest assured, the 2025 energies are still very much opening up. Astrologers will definitely be the first ones to agree with me. Their new year doesn't start until 1st of April, if I remember correctly. And on this occasion, I would agree with them because of the big turnaround, the big massive jump up that this March double whammy eclipse season offers if we decide to take it. And how far we take it is dependent on groups like the 144K Mass Meditation Group, an integral key part of the general light forces, physical and non-physical, terrestrial and non-terrestrial. And that's the dealio. Whether you in your living room or bedroom can accept that or not, don't shoot the messenger, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And huge potential here, folks. As we trigger a far more positive, far higher timeline opening to the eclipse season than what it otherwise would be if you weren't hearing my voice right now, if none of this was actually occurring and we, the 144K, getting together, serving in no uncertain terms. And Intel is still pretty light, relatively speaking, compared to past periods, because again, the eclipse season is going to be really intense. And what's on the other side of the eclipse season, so what starts happening in April, that's when you can expect so-called intel to really open up. As you begin to make yourself comfortable, I won't go on anymore about their desperate attempts to try to head off or thwart the huge potential of this eclipse season that starts with this new moon. Very desperate moves that were made since last Friday. So don't worry, you weren't alone if you were a target since last Friday in particular, most notably. So there's a strong Uranus and Mercury factor in with this new moon, and Neptune, I believe. A big step up and upgrade at the quantum level as well. And we're being asked to really take advantage of that when we focus the concentrated power of our consciousness onto this new moon. Point, if you will, in time-space for an even bigger shift. No more slow planetary liberation, no more slow off-world contact. As you begin to relax and breathe in deeply and slowly through your nose, as the Uranus factor is all about surprises. And as always with astrology, there's different expressions and permutations of such basic things. We're going to turn it into an awesome one. We're going to dispense our analytical minds and be far more open to deep secrets that the Uranus and Mercury factor can provide, that we're obligated to use, duty bound to use as a tactic, I guess, and bear the full might of our soul power and consciousness power to make the absolute most of it. That's how you quicken planetary liberation. That's the way the 144K rolls. And it makes your soul sing. Very happy. Okay, let's get up there to multiply the power of this global intervention by a minimum of 100. See yourself in the gigantic, translucent, silver crystal ball. See yourself standing there in your golden light body or astral body or whatever body you want for that matter, because consciousness is king when projected from the physical to the non-physical. And see your 144K comrades in arms and yourself standing on the inside of the equator of this beautiful translucent crystal ball. Now let's call in Gaia all together. Authentic Gaia. We call upon the one true authentic goddess, Gaia. Please be here with us. Feel her presence. Because you can. Authentic Gaia, can we please have your permission to take you up with us to great and extreme levels of light, to make so much more headway for ascension. See Gaia in the middle. Adore, admire her beautiful polar ice caps, white clouds over the blue oceans. Go ahead and call in your guides if you consciously work with any. And now we start to move up through the layers of this universe. As always, you notice like going up an elevator, a glass elevator, I suppose. Noticing the horizontal white layers going from top to bottom. And then that familiar, comforting flickering of light on the walls of the crystal ball. Centering you even more. Feel it bringing you more and deeper into the ever-present now to access more of your power, but also grace. As always, with the psychic flow, the less you try, the easier it is. It's already there. As you unlock and move your awareness and way of thinking from your left hemisphere brain to the limitless right hemisphere of your brain to see and access anything you set your intent on. And that's when you just receive. As we rapidly approach that last thick outer boundary of this universe, ready to go up to managers of multiverses, take your last glance at Gaia. See the soft blur or flickering of light through the translucent walls of the crystal ball. And then all of a sudden, everything goes bright white. So bright you have to squint your eyes as we reach and move through that last thick outer boundary of this universe. And we're through. You see a big ball of light that is the universe that we just left. Rapidly turn into a small ball of light. And you see a whole ocean of small balls of light that are all the other universes in this neighborhood of this multiverse. And then you see the whole multiverse as a slightly more less defined, I suppose, ball of light. And you see a whole ocean of slightly less defined balls of light that are all the other multiverses in this neighborhood of the multiverse. And all that kind of shrinks into nothingness. rising to long forgotten realms. Take your last glance at your comrades. Gaia in the middle. Your guides, if you have them with you. While I quickly run through the standard protocols. Authentic heart. We call upon the one true authentic light beings. The heart, please make sure we go to you and no one else. True heart. And you look up. And you see through the roof of the crystal ball a single little point of white light way off in the distance. Slowly getting bigger and bigger. Brighter and brighter. And we finally reach it. We come to a sudden, yet somehow gentle stop, and we slowly and lovingly move through. This platform of light as they welcome us. It closes at the bottom, opens up at the top. And we nestle gracefully on this platform of light. And now we form a straight line of unity and solidarity for freedom behind and a bit above Gaia. The crystal ball peels evenly, but slowly, from the top center. All the way down. And now look up and see and feel these very, very translucent kind of managers of multiverses that rarely intervene in any universe, except if something went seriously wrong. And establish your own connection, which is very important, and spend a minute feeling their particular unique energy signature to recognize them. You may simply see them as light beings, and that's fine. But rest assured, their power is quite immense. And just being up here really pumps you full of super high frequency. When I started working with them back in 2010, within a matter of weeks even, I started seeing negative ships above my house. because it brightened me up so much. So meditate through looking at them, being here in this reality. Feel what they feel like. Authentic God, please send us a massive wave of your energy so we can truly feel you to an undeniable, unmistakable physical level. And just have a little background consciousness on your higher senses in the center of your head initially. Sort of comes as a little soft wave. Remember to breathe deeply and slowly through your nose. Very important. Authentic God, please send a massive wave of your energy into our hearts. Engage the heart. And pay a little bit of background attention on your chest or solar plexus. Needless to say, this effectively begins the mass meditation. Okay. Lovely. As always, if you're new and you didn't feel anything, it's quite okay. Because it is merely an issue of reference points with energies outside the universe, never mind above the multiverse. But you will get there, as your system needs to acclimate after a few tries. Okay, shift a bit of attention or take a glance at your guides. And Gaia, well, I quickly call in the rest of the teams. We call upon the one true authentic infinite army of the authentic amalgam. We call upon the elders of the amalgam. We call upon the team of beings that created this universe and the unique phenomena, multiversal phenomena known as physicality. It's part of that grand experiment to corral the dark back to the light that presents itself as a man, a golden being of light, called Oberon in this model. Place him visually wherever it suits you. And repeat after me, everybody. Arguably a more important part. I call upon the entirety of my soul. And see that what looks like a star just up above the HOD, perhaps. You're the boss. Repeat after me. I call upon my authentic oversoul. And see that as a slightly bigger ball of light in a different color, perhaps, behind your soul. And lastly, repeat after me. I call upon my authentic I am presence. And see a bigger ball of light, seemingly infinite, long rays of light behind your oversoul. We're going to harness omnipresence. It's critical. Authentic Legion of Light. This is the 144K. Here we are. Activating and adding that critical, sacred, missing piece of consciousness projection from the physical plane of the surface of this central nexus planet. Take us to the space and place of omnipresence, where everything is here and now. And take a last glance at this panoramic view, especially Gaia, and all of a sudden, everything goes bright white. It's so bright you have to squint your eyes and you can barely see Gaia down there in the foreground, as we are transported to omnipresence from our conscious connection with our I am presence that's fundamentally omnipresent. Fundamental tools and tactics that will get us free. And The bright light disappears. Everything looks the same. Authentic lesion of light. It is the new moon in Pisces of February 27th, 2025. The year of contact for us active starseeds. There has been massive opposition to us even getting to this new moon. Although a lot of this opposition is cleared, we request a petition, you as well as Source, to help us find and remove all remaining resistance, no matter how deeply hidden it is, using the power and purpose of the current astrology, especially Uranus, the rebel, the freedom lover, the revolutionist, and Mercury, for us to receive this awareness and communication. And to open up and place all of us and humanity onto the highest possible timeline that Gaia and the human collective can possibly accrete right now. Work with our souls, and we will do the same to deliver the most profound impact to restore love, light, and wisdom, understanding, and the compassion that comes from that deep understanding. Let's turn this eclipse season throughout March into the eclipse season that we will never forget. The massive, profound turnaround at a whole new level. So work through us now. And let's go deep, as far and deep as we need to go to realize freedom. Let's bring light down to the surface of this third density physical plane. Please place Gaia in a quarantine sphere. All right, something smoky has appeared sort of around her. well into low Earth orbit. So anyway, the usual preliminary clearing is started. And in a minute, you'll be guided to truly tune in to your soul and align with it by going really deep. Really deep, but very open mentally. Letting go of any analysis of what you think needs to be cleared. Because that's when the rational mind often fills in the blanks, which is extremely limited. And that's not where it's at. You need to discover something new that you haven't seen before. As the teams just finish up. Oh, she appreciated that. Let me know if you felt that later. Gaia's energy and presence, by the way. We've got quite a good track record. Okay. So I'm just going to walk you through a process. That will boggle your mind, especially if you're new. If you're new, your soul's purpose, mission, and the whole point of being here will be honored. Now, as obviously they are ritualizing because they have to, being a new moon. And I know a lot of you veterans are probably already transmuting stuff. As we will begin to finish up on the, what's that black cube doing in the core of Gaia? As the preliminary cleanup is done to help us remove the upper layers of what's covering us something deeply hidden that's ultimately denying us our freedom, happiness, vitality, love. A life you can't possibly imagine, basically. The natural, divine way of life that we're pioneering, bringing down here. What's denying us that? Now, just to get things started, you can casually look up at your soul and simply say, what's denying my freedom, galactic family reunion, and full planetary liberation? What's denying that, beloved soul over soul and I am? And, not for the first time, your super conscious mind working through your I am over soul and soul that needs you here to work through you here to remove things in one fell swoop. No, they'll show it to you, believe me. Believe it. That old cliche, believing is seeing, it's quite true. Especially when you move into the right hemisphere of your brain. As we'll spend the next 5 minutes doing this preliminary clearing to find what's hidden underneath. We're going to use the highest octave or positive aspects of Uranus and Mercury to access the information for unconditional freedom, revolution. That's our responsibility, and certainly applies to your soul path and mission. And once the right question is asked, the right intent is set, rest assured, nothing is hidden from you. With the power of the right hemisphere of your brain, using it the right way, your soul, the teams, working from omnipresence, nothing is hidden. And we can work through things far faster to avoid the forever of planetary liberation. And rest assured, especially if you've been at this for a long time, it's taken them billions of years, actually, not just millions of years, to place everything that they've placed to keep us trapped here. We're clearing it all in a matter of years only. So once the right intent is set from omnipresence at the right realm with the right company, it's just a matter of being the witness of an image that's already there, even as you set the intent. You've got to catch it. Especially if it's faint. They're often the more accurate ones. And what you see, you turn it white. It'll typically be, but not always be, dark grey or black. You turn it white. The core essence of what you're here for, which is transmutation. And you watch it disappear, leaving a beautiful goddess baby blue or magenta color in the background. Because in the vacuum, source energy naturally feels it. Where there was once garbage. And boy, this really teaches you how to be your own psychic healer. It's the same principles for the most part. Powerful skills acquisition. All right. So look at least 2 or 3 of the teams, even if it's only the The HOD, the managers of multiverses, and your I am, that's still great. Don't have to see everyone if you can't. Totally fine. Have them in the background, wherever it suits you. And whenever you see anything dark or grey, you show it to them, watch it turn white, hold for a few seconds, and see it all disappear. It's a systematic process that literally triggers ascension again and again as we do it. And we're only going to spend another minute or two doing this so we can go deep. We need to clear what's covering something up. That's got to be removed, otherwise it'll be either a very difficult or a very frustrating eclipse season where nothing seems to change. Yeah, you see or hear things moving forward, but your life, your personal experience of your day to day and how you feel each day here on the surface, on the ground, would remain the same, and we all withdraw our consent and agreement to that. And you've got the full right to revoke that. If you don't agree with what I just said, all right, let's just spend a minute finishing up on this preliminary clearing. We're going to go deep. We're going to align you very deeply, uniquely, and powerfully at a whole new level with your soul, its knowing, its vast, immortal consciousness for maximum impact in a much shorter period of time. Let's free Gaia, humanity. Let's free ourselves by transmuting this preliminary nonsense that they're literally conjuring up through their real-time rituals for another minute or two. Great opportunity to practice, especially if you're new. Okay, now I certainly felt Gaia at least once there. As always, share in the Telegram chat if you ever do yourself at about the same time or even before I verbalize it. It's always a wonderful thing. So every time we do feel that, or some of us feel that, it just means something's removed, which means more of herself is replanted and comes to the surface, which is a fundamental prerequisite of planetary liberation. And a lot of the stuff that you may see, that's dark, you may seem organic, but these days it's more technologies, magic-like tech that's activating, becoming revealed and activating and resisting as more and more light comes through. But it's also blocking light to a big degree. Let's see what you can do about it. The true identity, your true identity of your soul. As you look up, way over on the other side, at your soul, who and what you really are. Your oversoul and I am behind that. Look at them. And at a minimum, look at the Hod or Oberon. Repeat after me. I want freedom. I want joy and love. Show me what to clear. So notice your tolerance level dropping down to 0. Which in this particular kind of circumstances, situation, which is relatively protected, fully backed by masses of light, you drop your tolerance level down to 0. And anything, as you look down at the white quarantine sphere, with a single monotone holographic color representing Gaia from omnipresence, predominantly at this point, 3rd density. Because pretty much everything else has been cleared. And it's there. Whether it's something the size of a quantum particle or the size of a house, it'll appear there. It'll be visible clearly somewhere within Gaia, within the holographic sphere. Because you've set your algorithm, your search algorithm, to omnipresence with support. And you transmute that thing and watch it disappear. When we're all doing this, and again, don't try to analyze what comes up, because such exotic stuff is often, but not always, outside our reference points. So don't analyze. Let whatever come up. Okay, there's all sorts of explosions of a not very savory kind. Because what the teams are doing is activating, throwing in so much light throughout Gaia, predominantly in the third density. And dark stuff get activated because they sort of have no choice, so they have to fight it. And float around completely effortlessly. The imagery doesn't have to be perfect at all. And just be the receive, be the silent witness. Just remember to transmute. It's always extremely empowering and liberating to try to venture out beyond your current mental paradigm, outside of your current level of consciousness. That's where freedom lies, and it's my job to get you there to fulfill your soul mission and purpose. And many times I don't verbalize what I see because my soul purpose and talents are often different from yours. And if I verbalize it, it may color your filters. So it's a classic case of do, don't, think. Go into that deeper hypnotic state and don't think, because that doesn't work. The right intent, the right question into that ultimate search engine known as the right hemisphere of your brain. That's how you do it. And it comes up instantly. My sole purpose and talents are going to be different from yours, and yours different from mine and everyone else's. Through this kind of guidance, your soul is allowed to and able to breathe and express its uniqueness that's critically needed right now. Take that occasional glance up above in the background, that distant little star that is your soul in front of your oversoul and infinite grandeur of your I am presence. And just begin to finish up whatever it is that you're doing. And I will verbalize in a minute or two what I see. But see what you see first. Feel or act as if you're receiving direct guidance from your soul. Again, this is where you really have to let go, because the rational left hemisphere brain always thinks it has to do something, but it doesn't. It's instantaneous. The answer is always where the question is asked. Conversely, where the intent is set, really the same thing. Be in that deep hypnotic state, aligned with your soul. It's where it's all at. Let go. It's instantaneous. And turn it white. And then watch it disappear. Okay. Finish up if you haven't already. Now, as for what I was seeing, so I can verbalize it now, there were some that looked like black geysers coming out, several of them, mostly from the northern hemisphere. And they're either ritual centers or technologies that have gotten activated. And on about two or three different occasions, they look like dark grey clouds, specks around Gaia. These are also most likely technologies. Okay. And the teams have already been telling me that, they know what we want. which is simply, and anything that really needs to be achieved in one regard, which is simply the light to reach the surface. Physical, third density surface. That's the big caveat or distinction that you don't want to be vague about or oblivious to. Otherwise, things, so-called math meditations are not as effective. So zoom out and again pick your refocus or refresh your panoramic field of imagery. Of your higher mind, your non-local mind, let alone your soul and guides. See Gaia there with your color of choice, holographic color of choice that represents omnipresence at the third density, physical level. The light reaching the surface. Alrighty. Again, have at least your I am within your field of vision. Okay. Specifically negative entities, it is. I want us to clear them next. And I'm not going to assume that it's those plasma entities. Although that's a big part of it. All right, whilst holding vision on at least two of the teams and your I am, repeat after me. Authentic Legion of Light, Soul, Oversoul, and I am. From the space of omnipresence, scan and clear all negative entities, plasma or otherwise, and all applicable densities that are blocking the light from reaching the surface. Omnipresence now. Okay, so some of you may have seen it looked like Gaia shrank, but really it's the quarantine sphere getting bigger to keep us all safe and protected. And for most of you, it all went dark grey, black in the middle. I know at least half of you know exactly what I mean when I say negative entities. These days, it does seem to be predominantly plasma entities on the physical plane. That was visible to us within our visual spectrum way back in the day before genetic shutdown. But thank God for what we do and the way we do it. Okay. Look up at your I am presence and see six golden spheres sort of float out of it, for lack of a better term. And see these spheres form one way above the quarantine sphere, another one below, and the other four evenly spaced on all four corners or sides of this very large quarantine sphere. And we're going to just do a quick 5-minute clearing of garbage. Creepy crawlies. Some call them demons. The proper clinical term is negative entities. And level of intelligence varies from that of a cockroach to that of a super smart human in terms of intelligence level. Okay, change the quarantine sphere color to a kind of like maybe a darker toned violet or a dark indigo. That way you can still see the garbage where it sort of begins to end towards the edge. Now, by the way, the quarantine sphere is kind of like the size of Jupiter because there's a lot still there in outer space. These golden globes are specifically designed to clear negative entities. Enough of them running our lives, holding back light from reaching the surface. Everything, all frequencies and spectrum of the third density, predominantly. Get comfortable with the view or angle that's already been shown to you, truth be told, and see these 6 golden globes, still a fair bit of a distance away from the very large quarantine sphere. Very, very slowly begin to inch their way closer to the quarantine sphere on their respective ends. And you immediately see a very bright, intense flashing of white transmutational light on the outer edge of this black crap. You know how many animals and insects there are in a large forest, especially a rainforest? A lot. You know, we're dealing with civilizations, smart or otherwise, where it's predominantly known as the plasma biofield that stretches all the way to lunar orbit, at this point anyway. But we're not just restricting it strictly to only plasma entities on the physical third density plane. Anything blocking the light, that's the, if you will, intent or algorithm. And seeing whatever way it's already been presented to you by your soul, oversoul, I am, and guides. Again, it's more about receiving the image because the intent has been set, and allow, or actually utilize the unlimited nature of the right hemisphere of your brain by quote unquote imagining swarms of negative entities just melting away, turning white, and then just dissolving away along these 6 still small points where the outer field of these 6 golden globes are starting to impact. Like these golden globes, they don't even have to make contact. They're still quite a distance, at least 5 diameters away from the quarantine sphere itself, let alone the blackness. And so just inside the quarantine sphere, you will see on the surface small points of white transmutational flashing of light, slowly getting bigger and bigger, on all 6 respective sides or ends, if you will, of sublunar orbit, I suppose. And all sorts of, God, they vary from like starfish type, squid type, octopi type, cockroach type, spider type. And so you hold that visual focus, on at least 3, because from one angle you can only see 3 at one time, of these ever expanding white transmutation light as these outer, incredibly powerful outer fields of these still very distant golden globes begin to transmute and move it downwards, float around as if you're going around, and see from the white light moving into the bottom or South Pole region, but still far away from the South Pole. We're still well into sublunar orbit. And imagine or receive that very occasional fleeting image of the micro, of individual little entities. Just usually they're dark grey or faint looking and turning white and disappearing. This will radically raise the timelines, believe me, and really even prevents, let alone optimize your chances of having a beautiful sleep instead of a nightmarish sleep full of nightmares, because the dark ones conjured up through their rituals a ton of negative entities. And we withdraw our consent and agreement to that. as we're moving halfway, clearing swarms of entity and moving halfway between sublunar orbit, or the outer edge of the quantine sphere, to the halfway point between sublunar orbit and the atmosphere. Inwards we go, as these, I suppose, concave looking frontiers of mass transmutational light get bigger and bigger. Take your time. We're dramatically raising the frequencies, timelines, everything. Upwards we go. And this way, we don't only radically, dramatically raise the timelines, but we do a lot to avoid a really intense eclipse period. You know, they've already been throwing the book at us. You don't want that to continue during an eclipse season, believe me. We're radically lowering the temperature, the intensity and ferocity of the March eclipse season. Because the 144K strategically intervenes at the right time. Receive, it's almost as if you're falling in love with the image, per your soul directive. Don't waste your time being stuck here since Atlantis. Believe me, it's going to hurt. Make it happen. Actualize what you want by being the witness of what your soul, oversoul, and I am and guides are doing through you. Visualize from whatever angle works for you, because your consciousness already is everywhere. And again, if you're new, abstract works, always seems to work just as well. So pick your angle. Pick the frontier of the white transmutational light moving from like a side view, clearing swarms of these huge numbers of entities, blocking the light. That's completely unacceptable. Now drop your tolerance level down to -10. Especially if you're a light warrior type. Other types, especially goddesses, don't really need to do that. Unless light warrior type is your secondary energy. It is for some goddesses. See the side view of the light moving in, that concave wall of light, and just transmuting entity after entity after entity. And now see all these 6, they're going to look like 6 large, bright, flashing, concave kind of light is the best way I can describe them, from all those respective 6 sides of Gaia. Well, 4 sides and North Pole and South Pole. See them begin to merge. We're radically accelerating planetary liberation. That is what it is. Visualize to actualize without an ounce of trying. It just doesn't work that way. It's more about point of attention and holding it there per your soul directive. And now it's all white. It's like a white, funny shaped cube almost. As we're approaching the atmosphere, where it's a bit more concentrated in terms of negative entities of any shape, form, or kind you can think of. We're now entering the atmosphere. Receive the image. Float around. Have fun. Engage the right hemisphere of your brain through the use of the limitless imagination and attitude of a child. You already are everywhere. As we begin to move through the atmosphere, all the negative, all the Galactic Confederation, #, command ships are grateful for it. Don't think it's all that utopian for them either when it comes to this realm. See the white light move through these vast fleets, giving them a nice break. As we move through the atmosphere, so it all looks like a funny shaped cube, extremely bright. Moving through, again, it's more boogies. Halfway through the atmosphere, where it's even more concentrated with more of these wascally little wabbits. I know some of you are really good at this. Have at it. Because now you've got the protection and the backing to have at it. As always, take that occasional glance at your I am and the HOD at a minimum. That's enough. All right, for a bit of plucky comic relief, I'm going to blow my nose. Go deep and beyond. Your current level of consciousness, unleash it. Honor who you are, what you're here for. And realize your freedom. As we reach Well, I should say we're about to reach the lower atmosphere where it's even more concentrated. And if you've ever, to use the analogy of lifting an old damp doormat, outdoor doormat, you lift it up and you see all these little cockroaches and whatnot crawling about. Yeah, it's kind of like that, what we're doing. We're lifting the doormat or that old damp carpet someone threw outside. You know what I mean? Again, do use, if you're struggling to see anything for whatever reason, and that's totally okay. You're doing well. Use abstract visualization. It always seems to work just as well when, and only when, projecting your consciousness from the physical to the non-physical. Again, that's a whole webinar in and of itself as we approach the surface from all 6 sides. We've got them in a cauldron. Don't worry, goddesses, we're not killing them, we're transmuting them. I know I ultimately have to answer to you. All right, now we're about to reach the physical plane, 3rd density surface. And in a few seconds, it's going to appear, because, the preceding white mass wall of transmutational light clears that little point of the surface that it initially reaches. The surface will appear as a baby blue, squiggy clean, goddessy color. We're like giving Gaia a beautiful salt bath or salt shower, getting the mud off of her and the cockroaches off of her. And that's unfortunately not much of a exaggerated metaphor at all. Like I said, drop your tolerance level to 0. All right, now pick your angle and we're about to break through to the surface. And see, you're deep within the deepest end and the middle part of these concave, inward moving walls of transmutational light, the surface peak through the white light. And it sort of moves outward throughout the surface, not just inward into the surface, outward, clearing, transmuting all negative entities. Believe me, it's convenient because the black occultists, dark workers, are conjuring them up in real time, so we're there with the broom sweeping them away. And see, move outwards, these walls of transmutational light moving outwards. Not just inward through the surface. Because the surface is where the bulk of these charming characters are, blocking the light. Take your time. Again, see that occasional glimpse of a micro image of several entities being cleared. Some will look like cockroaches, others will look like little grasshoppers, others will look like octopi, whatever the heck. They're denying us our freedom. Get rid of them. And watch it turn white and swept away. And then zoom out, back out to the main macro image. Moving well into inner Earth as well. Obviously, there's much less over there. So basically the crust, the surface and the crust, and then the lower atmosphere, that's the main issue. That's the heaviest concentration. All right, and then they invariably start to merge. These 6 outward moving walls of white light start to merge, clearing the rest and moving inwards all the way into the core of Gaia, moving much quicker because there's less there. Touching and it's almost like giving an energetic kiss to the core or heart of Gaia because the light has reached her. Congratulations, 144K. Okay. Now we will be finishing off with a few minutes of manifestation, setting intent, visualizing what you want, both for yourself, not just for the world, because it is a new moon after all. But before we do that, take a short little break if you want to, because next we're going to look for deeply hidden technologies that are deeply hidden in between time, space, or outside of time as well. They get triggered, as and when Gaia reaches a certain light quotient or frequency, and then they get activated, like a thermostat. And obviously they're a pain in the butt, and we're going to look for them. And just there's less of them, and it's a different sort of process. It'll be much quicker. Not even half the time of what we just did with the process that we used. Because they do constitute a grid of sorts whenever they activate and start polluting things, and back down, the general frequencies drop. Frustrating planetary liberation. Don't worry, they're very finite. It's just nice to get through them quicker. So take a 1 minute break if you need to, and we're going to finish off. Okay, now we're going to focus more on, I guess, the AI centric technologies that, generally speaking, are set to go off. Like I said, as Gaia reaches higher and higher frequency thresholds. The old thermostat analogy. So this is why you want to use the omnipresence, working very consciously and extremely deliberately with your I am presence and teams such as the HOD, because otherwise it really will take forever. So, zoom out again, see Gaia. In your color of choice, holographic, monotone color representing omnipresence, white quarantine sphere again. See your soul over soul I am directly on the other side in the background, perhaps two of the HOD on either side. Oberon, if you can fit them in. And in a relaxed, non-trying way, just try to have that in the background of your consciousness or in the background of your field of vision. In other words, engage the right hemisphere of your brain, because the left hemisphere of the brain can't do it. It can't focus on more than one thing at a time. It's insanely limited. Repeat after me. As you look up at them, Gaia in the foreground, below. We're going to do some magic here. Authentic soul over soul and I am presence. Authentic HOD, managers of multiverses. Oberon and guides. Simulation requested. Simulate the raising of Gaia's frequencies of all densities and planes down to the surface, reaching 5D energies. Look for and clear as they activate deeply hidden technologies, often hidden within false light technologies, as we increase and simulate up to 5D frequencies. The frequencies of full planetary liberation and mass landings. to include technologies and AIs of any shape, form, or kind that are in between the time-space continuum, the quantum foam, outside of time, in whatever corresponding universe or multiverse. That we may still be tethered to. Now, the image, beloved one, was already there as you were asking that question, setting that intent by repeating what I was saying. Grab it, turn it white, hold. You get that effing thing, you turn it white. Start off with the outer macro image. As always, change background color to indigo or dark violet to contrast the white light of your consciousness, soul, etc. Lose yourself in this image. Hold. Yes, this has to be done first. Too much in the way. Okay, I know what I'm doing. Right. This is the climax of this mass intervention by the 144K, and it's only going to last minutes. Some of you may see images of, they're going to look like thin little lines. Spheres or cubes within these thin little black lines. As the false light, or whatever kept them cloaked, is removed, and there they are. And you're going to see them in between time-space continuum. And the time-space continuum will look like these light blue cubes. Some of you may see something else completely altogether. Turn it white, watching getting swept away, disappearing. This is real behind the scenes matrix stuff here. They're all run by preset, pre-existing ancillary AI. The main dark one is long gone. I'm just focusing on what's outside, well outside the atmosphere. Again, we're radically speeding up the process of safe galactic contact. You never give up on such a profound thing. Some of you may simply see dark grey cubes and spheres, whatever. Don't limit yourself. Don't try to analyze things per se. Otherwise, your rational mind ends up filling in the blanks, and that's not as effective. Go with the flow. The intent has been set. The right intent has been set. Let your soul work its magic through you by holding that connecting consciousness link. That's all you got to really do, and be the witness. Okay, I think I felt her there. And don't worry, size doesn't matter. Something can be the size of a quantum particle or an atom, and it can still be screwing up the whole planet in our ascension. Again, it'll be shown in whatever size your rational mind needs to see it in. Nothing escapes your vision once you set the right intention. It's all about the right intention. As we start clearing or move through a lot of this and coming to a close pretty shortly. We have to clear this first. I can feel the participation of the off-world fleets taking advantage of our vanguard, I guess. In some of these little gizmos, whether they're within time, space, or outside and in between space, time, some of them, all they do is just give off negative frequencies. And collectively, they form a grid, lowering the frequencies, keeping us down. That's just one thing. Some release or generate negative entities. And just, in whatever way works for you, I'm not going to tell you specifically what to do, because it really is all about honoring your soul talents, unique abilities based on your soul purpose. That's why I try to leave it as open-ended as possible to weave your magic. All right, well done. Finish up if you haven't already, clearing them away. Alrighty. Now what we're going to do is we're going to flood existing technologies that aren't necessarily negative, they're just neutral or positive. We're going to flood it with goddess energy, infuse it with goddess energy, because it is her domain after all. Now see source goddess up above. You can see there's a magenta cloud, pretty much. And we're really going to not just flood or infuse, but kind of program, essentially. Because actual AIs, not this chat GPT garbage that are just glorified software, they're not really AIs, FYI. But real AIs, all they really are is a particular form of consciousness inserted into a certain type of matter that can influence electronics. So it all comes down to what consciousness is inserted into a given AI and its purpose for that matter. It's sort of calling it AI is a bit of a stretch because really it's just consciousness. That runs kind of like on autopilot in a way. Just in a different vehicle, I guess. So now beam, or for vision's sake, see magenta, goddess consciousness, not just energy and frequency in essence, but consciousness itself, pour down, kind of like as if it's shining down its magenta light down through the entire outer auric field and magnetic field of Gaia initially. Infusing it into her magnetic field where there is AI consciousness of various kinds there as well. You know, many of you have the reference point of, those pictures of those solar wave, solar wind from the sun hitting Gaia, and there's this wavy thing all around Gaia, and Gaia's still a small little dot in the middle of that. Kind of like that is the best way I can describe it. Now, some of you, especially you technician types, are already onto it. And now begin to work through this outer auric electromagnetic layers of Gaia that stretch out pretty much to the moon. Move that magenta light through those layers of her electromagnetic toroidal field and to low Earth orbit. and then move it. And this is amplifying the frequencies that our off-world fleets are already trying to beam down by the way. Now they can really reach the surface at a grander scale. Anyway, now gently move this magenta light. Think of it as like a electromagnetic radio frequency, if you will. Third density. Through the stratosphere, where there's quite a few galactic fleets parked. And infusing the morphogenetic field, the quantum field, satellite to satellite signals with goddess consciousness, infusing it. She has to reclaim herself. Otherwise, it's a little bit of a stretch, expecting planetary liberation any day now, any day now. Well, it hasn't happened any day now for a reason. And that's what I love about the 144K. It's honest about that. Says it like it is. But still maintains, if not galvanizes, hope and inspiration. Because you know you're at the leading edge, the cutting edge of what it takes for galactic family reunion and mass landings, without the garbage in between. And now move this goddess consciousness through the atmosphere, through the increasing number of grids, electromagnetic EMF grids, where, there's still some negativity. A lot of us being neutralized over the years. And move it through the surface. Visualize that in whatever way works for you, per your soul, talents, and purpose. In other words, let go and just receive the image, because your soul will show you the image. Ooh, they're not liking this. There's some stuff coming up. All right, that's gone. Good. Adios. All right. She appreciated that. Again, the more, whatever form or kind of divine energy you bring down through the atmosphere, it often triggers a reaction. You get stung, whatever's in the way. Thankfully, you and I have a zero tolerance policy. For heaven's sake. Now, gently move this goddess consciousness through the grids, through the quantum field, electromagnetic field of the physical plane, third density, essentially reprogramming it. Reordering, reprogramming these little signal energy packets between satellites and their respective receivers on the surface. You technicians, I know you're in heaven right now. Allow your so-called imagination, in other words, right hemisphere of your brain, to get the better of you. Receive what you're receiving. And now we're reaching the surface, moving through the cell towers and stuff, through military equipment, receivers, dishes of any kind. Inwards we go. But also at the quantum, right? Physical quantum matter, down to the subquantum level. Reordering and reprogramming, in a sense, her consciousness. We've arguably radically jumped planetary liberation by another 6 months. Again, for those of you who are new, it never looked like we were actually going to make it until it looked pretty certain, until about November, December 2021. That's when it looked fairly certain that we were going to make it, well, alive anyway, to the 5D. Okay, so now, visualize skylines of cities, not just cell towers. The whole field, quantum matter itself, and in between quantum matter, just go in magenta, in she goes. Computers turning magenta, circuitry turning magenta, quantum particles turning magenta and stabilizing. There's a softness to them now, a grace and a flow. Everything just goes the right way. And inwards we go through the surface into the massive amounts of underground tunnels and installations and dams. Down into inner earth, where our beloved Agathans are, among lots of other positive groups, native and otherwise. And now we can finish up with the classic old metaphysical 5-minute visualization, setting our intent for not just the new moon period, because some new moons, depending on the astrological configuration, influence the next 6 months. So, depending on astrological configuration. So, be aware of that. And this is one of those new moons. This is the dawn at a minimum of the eclipse season, which will last throughout March and early April, I suppose. And the effects of eclipses last for 6 months, that's for damn sure. So we've made critical, pivotal, strategic moves that's had a massive positive impact and shifted things, undeniably, to the most positive possible direction and timeline for that matter that can be received by Gaia and the collective humanity. And how much it can receive at any one time is decided by how cleared things are. And the more things are cleared, especially down to the surface levels, the more it can receive, the higher we go, etc., turning planetary liberation into a mathematical certainty. And that's how you liberate a planet. Now look up at your I am, oversoul, and soul. And just ask, please help me manifest what I'm about to visualize. And now, for no more than 5 minutes, with the intent being set, at least for the next few weeks, let alone 6 months, I'm going to leave this totally open-ended for you to decide what you want, albeit at your current level of consciousness. But live it and breathe it. Really feel it. Down to your physical senses, as if you're already there. Metaphysics 101, acting as if you already have it. You know that drill. Feel as if you're really having it. Really, really get into it. Well done. It's nice, isn't it? And you can still do this tomorrow for 5 minutes. Still very much new moon energies. I visualize myself being able to heal people. Even at biblical levels like Jesus Christ. As he said, you will do what I do and even greater things. Oh, 444. Awesome. I visualized hearing physical voices, actual, truly into my physical auditory cortex. Voices of off-world or in-earth personnel contacting me, giving me information. I actually experienced that once a couple of years ago, and I'm trying to get it back. And of course, financial abundance. I've got a plan for that, but that's for a later time for all of you. Now, I really want you all to truly receive the gratitude with a capital G from our off-world and inner earth brethren, because you've really made their job much easier and less riskier as well, let alone Terran white hats. They've often literally called for our prayers, as they put it. So really feel and bathe in that gratitude, especially from the goddess herself. They can't thank you enough. As I pay my respects through my salute to every single one of you. Well done, beloved one. Let's see what unfolds in the next few days. As we've started eclipse season in the best way possible, because we've cleared so much. Layers and layers of stuff that laden prevent or frustrate our return home. Bathe in that gratitude and love from all that is pretty much. And I tip my hat off to you. This is your loving servant, the Unknown Light Warrior, officially ending this physical broadcast from the third density of the surface of the center of all the action. Well done for being that vanguard. So brave. Watch your inbox. It's going to get interesting.